Worship and praise we're going to look at today. Worship and praise is another key to getting into an intimate relationship with God. What does it mean to actually worship and praise God? It's more than just singing some songs on Sunday at church. The fast ones are the praise and the slow ones are the worship. It's entering into, some would describe it as an ecstasy type experience. Some would be very, very conservative about me even using that word. It's more than just sitting around and singing some songs around the fireplace, more than just enjoying a good band or being entertained, which a lot of it, unfortunately, has gone that way in the modern church. It's about recognizing the holy God, recognizing who he is, that he is worthy to be worshipped. We see these people that are really keen on sports. I kind of like watching sports, but I'm not super keen on sports. And we see them just getting crazy worship when their team scores. Oh, I'm not even very good at doing that. That's worshipping some idol in a way, because God is the only one that is worthy of worship, worthy of us actually coming before him and just admiring him and thanking him for who he is. Now, we've talked in the last couple of sessions about how we can come boldly to the throne of grace and jump on his knee like a child will jump on a daddy's knee. But there are times when we just bow before him in reverence and awe, and we just burst into tears as the emotions of how holy he is comes over us. We can get too familiar with God in some situations and forget the holiness of his presence. So I just want to spend this time today just sharing with you the holiness of presence. When things are going good, we can kind of push God into our back pocket. And when things are going bad, we pull him out like a lucky rabbit's foot or a genie in the bottle. And we're using him like a fast food dispenser where we just want a quick fix to what's going on in our lives. And we're not prepared to actually let him speak to us, which we can talk about in another session. He's worthy of our worship. We've made that word mean very little in our Western society, but it used to mean quite a lot in medieval England, or even just early before, just before I was born in the UK. You actually had respect and worship of people in positions of authority, because they had power to influence and affect your life in a significant way. Worshipping God. Jesus is fun. In some ways we've made him too somber, so there's a bit of a fine balance between Jesus is fun and worshipping a holy God. Worshipping God for who he is and what he's done is really key to developing our intimacy. And knowing when and how we move from a fun, happy Jesus to actually a serious Jesus and bowing our knee before King Jesus. Being committed to him in a deeper way. I'm reminded of the story of Daniel, where he was commanded to bow down before the statue of King Nebuchadnezzar and worship it whenever the symbol went or whatever the call went out for them to worship. And he refused. He never changed his way of doing things. He stayed before his open window and worshipped God. And we know the story. He got thrown in the lion's den, and the lions weren't hungry. God shut their mouths, and Daniel was okay. The three friends that were around that time as well, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, who said to the king, "We will not bow." And he was so angry with them that he said, "Burn up that furnace 7 times hotter." And the guys, the strong warriors that threw them into the furnace, got caught up with it, and they were burned up to smithereens. And the 3 boys were not burned, not even the smell of smoke on their clothing. And there was a 4th man walking with them in the midst of the fire, which was Jesus. Worshipping the holy God. There was a lifetime. It wasn't just something that they quickly did as things started to get a little bit heated in their life, it was a lifetime of worshipping God and praising God for who he is. This is a big key to our intimacy with God. Another story before we finish up is David, King David. He had worship going 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. There were 3 shifts of worship leaders, and they did 8-hour shift each of just worship and praise to God, which sounds absolutely amazing. 7 days a week, 24 hours, but this went on for 40 years. 40 years they worship God 24/7. So the half an hour of worship you might get, or an hour in this of worship on a Sunday, is nothing to what those men understood about worship and what it meant to them. That their God was so powerful to them. He meant so much to them. He wasn't some genie that they just rubbed the bottle when they needed a prayer answering. And that is as God walks us into that intimate relationship, that is how we develop further and further, and then we start to hear his voice. Bless you. See you in the next session.